So last night, I read an article in The Independent, and it was an interview. And during this interview with Theresa May, she had said that she trusts Donald Trump and that she believes in a special relationship. Now, to me personally, reading it late at night, it was unclear if she meant the special relationship between the UK and the US, excuse me, or if it was a special relationship between Theresa May and Donald Trump. Either are, I suppose, acceptable. She could have been either one, and it doesn't really make much of a difference. But as I was reading it, the same question kept coming up in the back of my head. Why? Why does she trust Donald Trump? So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I decided to jot down just a few things that, if I were in her position, they would prevent me from trusting Donald Trump. Now, this is not a complete list of everything he's ever done. This is just what he's done since taking office, and even then it's not everything. It's just what I remembered off the top of my head at 2 a.m. There is a ton more. But let's get into it, because it's fun and it illustrates how dim Theresa May is if she's actually being honest about this. No particular order, but the first one is something that shouldn't be overlooked if you're Theresa May. During his UK visit, he insulted Theresa May quite badly as well. He said that she wasn't doing a good job running the country and that Boris Johnson would make a much better Prime Minister. So much for that special relationship, eh? He lied to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, saying that about the deficit between the US and Canada, saying that Canada owed the US a huge amount of money. In reality, it's the other way around. Canada doesn't owe the US, but the US does owe Canada a substantial amount. The fact that he would lie so barefaced and then brag about it afterwards is appalling, really. Canada is America's closest ally, both figuratively and literally. But then he took it one step further and blamed Canada for burning down the White House. Again, let's stay in reality. It was us. It was the British who burned down the White House, and it was before Canada was even a country. I think it was 50 years before Canada was a country. So that was just an insult for no damn reason. Encourages violence against NFL players who kneel during the national anthem. Now, this is something that is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Colin Kaepernick started this, and he was kneeling. Originally, he was sitting out while the national anthem was playing, and he did that to protest the fact that if you're a black man in America, you are far more likely to suffer police brutality or be murdered by the police than you are if you're a white man. Tamir Rice was 12 years old, playing with a toy gun. A toy gun. The operator who got the call knew that, was told that, and yet you can see the footage if you've got the stomach for it. Police turn up within 2 seconds. Get out the car, draw the gun, fire. 12-year-old kid executed for playing with a toy. So Colin Kaepernick was sitting out during the national anthem. He had a meeting with a veteran because a veteran got hold of him and said, look, I think this is disrespectful to me, to other veterans, people who have served this country. So Kaepernick actually met up with this guy, and they went through a number of things so that Kaepernick could still have his First Amendment rights, the right to free speech and protest and respect people who have served in the military, and that's why he now kneels as a sign of respect and to protest. Donald Trump hates this because he is a racist and encourages violence towards NFL players who do this. Defending neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. Now, this is something that happened last year, and we found out from the subsequent books that have come out about him that even though he backpedaled a little bit, he hates that he backpedaled. When it first happened, a neo-Nazi protest, there were counter-protesters there. A Nazi got in a car and ran over a woman by the name of Heather Heyer, who was there as a counter-protester. A Nazi murdered an American woman on American soil. And Trump came out and said, look, there are good people on both sides. Giving a free pass to Nazis in America. Backing out of the Iran deal. Now, this was something that was potentially devastating. He cited it as it was a bad deal for America. I'm sorry, but anyone who's actually read the Iran deal and still says that is one of two things: lying through their teeth or an idiot. For everyone that doesn't know, and very, very quickly going into it, America under Obama got hold of Iran's money and withheld it. And they said, look, you essentially do what we tell you to do, or we're not going to give you your money back. And that was the Iranian nuclear deal, which is essentially stops them from creating nuclear weapons. Iran went for it. So Obama gave back their money. He didn't give them American money, he gave them back the money that was already there. Trump hated this. At the time, he was spitting fire about this, but backing out of that deal, that could have seriously messed up the Middle East. I know it's not perfect at the way it is now, and considering America's recent involvement, it's still not all that great, but that was something that could have seriously messed things up. Attacks on Obamacare. Now, this goes back really to his hatred of Obama. Pretty much everything Obama did, Trump is undoing. And when Trump came over on his European tours, when policies were put in front of him by European leaders, he didn't ask anything about these policies. It was just, was Obama in favour of it? And if he was, Trump was against it. If he wasn't, Trump was for it. That's how he based his decisions. Getting rid of Obamacare, realistically, Obamacare and Medicaid is crap. But considering that people are literally dying on the streets because they can't afford medicine in America, it was a damn sight better than what they had. The fact that Trump has been trying to defund it, tell people that it's no longer available when it has been available, just constant attacks. That's an attack on the people you're meant to be looking after. That's something pretty damn serious. Taking protections away from dreamers and DACA reciprocants. Now, this is one of the things that he did early on in his presidency. Children who were brought to the United States when they were infants. They've lived in the US their entire lives. You look at all the research, all the numbers, and DACA reciprocants and dreamers give far more to the country than they take. In fact, there's a lot of benefits that they're not entitled to, such as pensions and things like that, but they still pay in to that system. He took away all the protection they had, and some of them unfortunately have been deported to countries that they've never really known and are now surrounded by people who speak a language they've never used. And then he decided to ignore reality yet again and blamed it on the Democrats. To be fair, I know I hate doing this, but I have to be fair, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and the rest of the spineless cretins that call themselves Democrats didn't help. They should have doubled down. They should have found a backbone and actually fought. But they didn't. They gave Trump pretty much what he wanted. But Trump got rid of the protection for children that were paying into the American system and benefit America. Oh, this is a doozy. Okay, so Trump has been in office less than 2 solid years. He has told over 3,000 lies. Point blank, even if you ignore everything else on the list, which, by the way, I've still got 2 more pages to get through. Even if you ignore everything else on the list, 3,000 lies in less than 2 years. You can't trust someone who does that. Point blank. And these aren't lies that could be exposed in the Mueller investigation, in campaign finance fraud and things like that. These are things that are easily fact-checked. It takes minutes to prove that he's lied, and yet over 3,000. That is despicable. Anyone who trusts a man who's told over 3,000 lies in less than 2 years needs their head examined. Ugh. Diplomatic hotels. This is more of an emoluments violation, I think, more than anything else, but it shows that he's not in it for the people. So, foreign diplomats, foreign politicians would go to America, stay in a hotel, and then they'd meet in the White House and so on and so forth. When Trump took office, he made sure that every foreign diplomat, every foreign politician who came over for state visits and everything else went to a Trump hotel rather than what they would normally go to. This means that the foreign politician is paying money to a Trump hotel. Trump is directly benefiting from that. They may as well just give him the money for the room personally instead of feeding it through the hotel. That's really, I mean, they love to say crooked Hillary, but that's pretty damn crooked in itself. You're not just getting paid for being president, but you're also getting foreign diplomats, foreign ambassadors, and so on and so forth to pay you on top of that. Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is one of the more tellings about Donald Trump's personality. If you see the footage when he did actually go down there, he was handing out paper towels. But he was doing it as if he was playing basketball at a holiday resort, rather than taking the situation seriously. These are people's lives, and they're so desperate they are crowded round and queuing for paper towels. Then he leaves after he feeds his ego and seriously defunds the amount of money that Puerto Rico needs to rebuild itself. Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. Puerto Ricans are Americans. It is America. Since then, almost 3,000 people have died. And Trump ignores it and says it's a lie. That is despicable. That is an outright attack and insult to the whole of America, because this man will just deny people's existence. Tariffs on China. wow, this is really going on for a long time, but again, this is just what I remembered at 2 a.m. Tariffs on China is a relatively new thing, Chinese goods. He's been very clear not to tariff anything that his daughter uses because she has sweatshops out there. He's doing it assuming, I suppose, that it's going to bring more money into America, but the reality is it's not. Tariffs don't generate money that way. It's costing American companies more to import, but then they pass that on to the consumers. America itself, the American government, doesn't get any extra money for it. It just means that factories like Harley Davidson have to pay more to import stuff, which is why they've closed down a few factories and are opening up a few more in Europe. That shows really how stupid he is. Oh, John McCain. Dear God, there's so many bad ones on this list. I don't like John McCain. I think he was pretty damn crap. However, the man's military record, I will not say a bad word against. I think he is a hero. He was captured, and that is what Trump just rails on about and insults the man time and time again. But here's the thing, and here's why I will not say a bad word about John McCain just on his military history. Political views, no, that's fair game as far as I'm concerned. You can you can have a pop at someone for their political views, that's fine. But his military record, okay, when he was captured, the Viet Cong found out who he was, a fairly important man. So they were prepared to release him and get a few of theirs back, and so on and so forth. McCain refused to go unless everyone in that camp was released with him. Now that didn't happen. They did not let everyone in that camp go. So John McCain stayed. He stayed and he endured torture for years because he would not leave people behind. That is amazing. That is miraculous. That is a war hero. And yet Trump, who bought his way out of going to Vietnam, insults the man constantly before his passing, and even now, just a few weeks after McCain died. He's just no class whatsoever. Pathetic, disgusting human being. He condemned Alabama. I remember this. He was a dick, basically. And he condemned Alabama for not voting for Roy Moore. Now, it came out that Roy Moore had sexually assaulted very, very young and some underage women. Sexual assault, sexual harassment from a man who is effectively a paedophile. And yet Trump attacks the people who didn't vote for him. It reminds me of what he's doing now with the Kavanaugh case. Multiple women now have stepped forward saying, this guy actually has a history of sexual assault. That personally that's not why I don't like Brett Kavanaugh, but I can save that for another video. Okay, here we go. Vacation days. Now this is an odd one, but this is something I think is important when you're doing a judgment call on someone. Trump has had more vacation days now than Obama had in his entire 8-year run. To me, that shows that this man is incredibly lazy and doesn't want to do the job. I personally can't trust a world leader like that. If I was Prime Minister, I wouldn't be making deals with someone like that, with someone who has had more holidays in less than 2 years than his predecessor had in 8. Whew. Okay, we are rapidly getting to 20 minutes and I still have so many more to do, so I'm going to end it on this next one. The zero tolerance policy. Trump has taken children away from their families and thrown them in cages. Trump, so incompetent that for the first 2 months at least, did not bother to keep track of anything. So as a result, 500 children are now orphans. Because the American government, Trump's government, cannot reunite children with parents because they didn't keep records. There was no need to separate them in the first place, but they didn't keep records. And a lot of these parents we now know have actually been deported already. And yet the children still in the US, still in these cages. The conditions of these cages, of these detainment camps, is repulsive. We've had numerous reports of abuse, institutional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse coming from these detainment centres just regarding the kids. It is an absolute disgusting act for anyone to do. And if I was Prime Minister, I would not have dealings with any country that thought that was acceptable. Then take into consideration, we recently found out that all these companies who run these detainment centres have contracts for 4 years. So this isn't going away anytime soon, and Republicans are still trying to dismantle the Flores settlement so that they can separate children, so that they can keep these kids in cages indefinitely. I ask the same thing again. Theresa May, you say you trust Donald Trump. Why? This man proves time and time again that he is scum and he cannot be trusted. Not just trusted to lead a country, but he can't be trusted to be a decent human being. And at over 20 minutes, I'm going to stop reading my list that still has many things, because I'm pretty sure you already get the point.